You're welcome to today's class. Today we want to look at nested loops. Nested loops are loops that are placed inside another loop, right? That is the meaning of nested loops. So the syntax for a loop, a nested loop, is I'll just write outer loop, right? Outer loop. Then I'll do this. Then inside this loop, I'll write inner loop, right? Inner loop. Then I'll do this. Then inside it, I'll write statement, which is the block of code, right? Or statement. Then I'll close this, right? Then this outer loop, I'll write its own statement if there is a need, right? And then I'll close it. So this is the syntax for nested loops. That is, writing a loop inside another loop. So you can write nested for loops, nested while loops, nested do while loops. And then you can have a do while loop inside a for loop, or you can have a while loop inside a for loop, or vice versa. So what is the flow chart for this for nested loops? Let me just, based on that syntax, I'm going to draw a flow chart. So this is the start, right? So this is the start. Then you have this condition, right? If the condition is true, you have another condition, which is another loop. Now, when you enter this loop, you now have a statement, right? Then when you execute this statement, you come back here again and test the condition, right? So this is, if the condition is true, you execute this statement, just put X. Now, if the condition is false, you come here and then you exit. This is the N, right? But this N for this inner loop will now bring you back to what? To the outer loop. But if the condition, so this is condition 1, this is condition 2. Now, if this condition 1, this is, if it is true, if this is false, then you simply come out and N, right? So this is false, and then this is true. Then this is false, right? So this is the flow chart for a nested loop. Now, this is the starting point. You check the condition. If the condition is true, then you go in and test another condition, which is the inner loop. Now, if the condition of the inner loop is true, then you carry out the block of code, and then you test the condition again. But if the condition is false, you come out. But when you come out, you are coming back to the outer loop. So a nested loop is a loop that for every iteration of the outer loop, the inner loop will run a complete iteration based on this. So when you have one iteration, the condition is true, you go in. You are going to execute all the iterations of the inner loop before coming out of that inner loop. That is a nested loop. So this is the flow chart for a nested loop. So let's write a very simple program to demonstrate this. So I'm going to say, I'll declare a variable, include stdio, include stdio.h. You already know why I'm putting that. Then I'll say int main. We are still going to get to function, and I will explain this main function again. So int main. Then here I am going to declare two variables. So int I and j, right? I'm declaring two variables. Since I'm declaring these two variables in the integer realm, I can write them like this. So I declare two variables, then I will say, I'm going to write a nested for loop. So I will say for inside this place, I will initialize my I I'll say I 1. So I'm assigning 1 to I. Then I'll do this. Then my increment, I less than or equals to, let's say, 4. Then I'll do this. Then I'll say I plus plus, right? And then I'll go in. Now, this is my outer loop. So, if this condition is true, then I'll go in and then I'll carry out my inner loop. You can see this 4 is inside this place. So, 4. Then I'll repeat the same thing. J, assign this J, assign 1. Then this, then J less than or equals to 4. Then this, then J plus plus. I will close this, then I will go in. Now, inside this inner loop, I'm going to write my statement. So here I will say print F. I will do this. I will say I assign I colon percentage D. I will say comma J colon percentage D. Then I'll do slash N this comma I J. Right? Then I will come out of my for loop, which is the inner loop. So I will come out of it. I will come out of it, and I hope you can still see the bottom. So I will come out of this loop. Let me not write too much. So I'll leave it like that. I will come out of this loop. Then I will come out of this outer loop. So I will come out of this. Then I will say return 0. Then this, I will come out of this. So I hope you are seeing. So let me just use this to explain without writing much of statement inside. Now looking at this, let's explain this loop. This is like going to a school that has 4 classes. And in each of these classes, you have 4 students inside. So every time you enter a class, you have to attend to the 4 students before you move to the next class. That is the loop I have just written, right? So we are going to do this. Then this is I. Then this is J. So I have declared 2 variables, I and J. Then in my first loop, which is the outer loop, I have initialized I as 1. Now, I less than or equals to 4. That is true. 1 is less than or equals to 4. It will go in. When it gets in, it will assign another loop. It will assign 1 to J. So J becomes 1. Now it will test the condition. J less than or equals to 4. That is true. It will go in. It will print out I. So it will print out I it has initialized this one to what? 1. I is 1, comma, J is what? 1. That is what it will print out on the screen. Then it will test the condition of J, meaning it will remain inside this place until it finishes the test on J. So it will increment J to what? J will become 2. So this place will become 2. J plus plus will become 2. I will still remain 1. Then it will check the condition. 2 is less than or equals to 4. That is true. It will come in here and it will print I. It will print I, 1, J, 2. Then it will increment J to what? To 3. Then it will check the condition. 3 less than or equals to 4. That is true. It will go in, it will print I, 1, J, 3. It will do this. Then it will increment j to 4. It will increment j to 4. Then to test the condition, j 4 less than or equals to 4. 4 is now equals to 4. That is true. It will go in and then it will print. I'm not sure you are still seeing. It will print I 1 j 4. So it will print out this. Then it will increment j to 5. Then it will test 5 less than or equals to 4. That is no longer true. Then it will come out of this inner loop. It will return back to the outer loop. It will increment I to now 2. I is now 2. Right? I is now 2. Then it will test the condition of I. 2 less than or equals to 4. That is true. It will go in. Once it gets in, it will assign 1 to j. So this place will become 1. Then to start the loop again, j less than or equals to 4. That is true. It will go in. Now it will print I. It will print I 2, j 1. Then it will increment j to 2. Then to test the condition, 2 is less than or equals to 4. That is true. Then it will go in. Then it will print I 2, j 2. Then it will increment j to 3. It will check the condition. It is true. It will go in. It will print I 2, j 3. It will repeat the same thing again. It will print I 2, j 4. Then it will increment j to 5. It will test the condition. It's no longer true. It will come out of this inner loop. It will come to the outer loop. It will increment I to what? To 3 now. So I becomes 3. Right? It will check the condition. I less than or equals to 4. That is true. It will go in. It will reassign 1 to j. So this place becomes 1 again. Then it will continue the loop test again inside. So this one will print out this. Then it will print out for this next one, I is 3, j 1. I 3, j 2. I 3, j 3. I 4, j 4. Then it will increment to 5. So that one is no longer true. It will come out and it will change I again to 4. Then it will go in. So you are going to have 1, 2, 3. Then I will become 4. J will become 1. Then I will become 4. J will become 2. Then I will become 4. J will become 3. Then I will become 4. J will become 4. Then when it increments j again to 5, it's no longer true. Then it will come out. Then it will increment I to 5. Then it will check. 5 less than or equals to 4. That is no longer true. Then it will come out of the loop completely. So for every iteration of the outer loop, the inner loop will run complete iteration. So you have 4 classes in the school, 4 students in each of the classes. So when you enter any class, you must attend to the 4 students before you move to the next class. That is the meaning of this nested loop. So that is what I have shown to you. Let's go to code blocks. Let me demonstrate this for you to see. In the next class, I will show you another variation of this nested loop. Let's go to code block. All right, so this is my nested for loop. As you can see, I added this printf end of inner loop, meaning this is the inner loop, and then I'm putting this immediately after it. So for every iteration, for every complete iteration of this inner loop, it will print out end of inner loop. And then it will go back to increment the outer loop, and then it will come in again and start printing. So after printing this inner loop 4 times for I equals to 1, it will print n of inner loop. Then it will go back again and increment I to 2. Then after printing that, it will print n of inner loop again. Then when eventually finish this outer loop up to 4 too, it will print n of inner loop, and then it will print n of outer loop. So let's execute this for you to see what the output will be. So see, it printed out I1, J1, I2, J2, I1, J2, I1, J3, I1, J4. Then it ended that inner loop. It will print n of inner loop. Then it will come back to the outer loop, increment I to 2. So I2, J1 up to 4 again. Then it will print n of inner loop. Then it will print I3 up, then J equals to J1 again up to 4. Then it will print n of inner loop. Then it will increment outer loop. Then when it finishes to print n of inner loop, then it will come out of the outer loop and it will print n of outer loop. That is what the output will be, and that is what I want to show you in this class. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe if you have not done so. So till we see in the next class, bye-bye.